Hey everyone, welcome to the One Code Damn channel. So in this video, we will explore the world of JSX and its attributes, and we'll also uncover the various ways we can style in ReactJS. And in addition to that, we'll also be able to look into React components and know how they play a pivotal role in building scalable and reusable UI elements. So get ready to take your React knowledge to the next level as we delve into these essential concepts. Let's get started. So during the last video, we've successfully created a React app project. So before we dive into coding, we also looked at the different folders it created. So think of these folders as different rooms in a house, each serving a specific purpose. So let's take a quick tour of this, since understanding their contents will make navigating and organizing your project much easier. Okay, so the first one is the public folder. So the public folder, this holds the static files like your website's logo, icon, and any other images, fonts, or style sheets that don't need React to render. So think of it as the entrance hall where visitors first see your website's visual elements. Okay, so this is like the entrance to your application. It holds the static files that users see directly, like your index.html file, which acts as the blueprint for your app's structure. So remember, React handles the dynamic parts, but this file defines the overall layout. Okay, so it's imagine you're building a website. This index.html file would be like the front door and the main hall, guiding users to different rooms, which are the components within your website. Okay, and then the next folder is this one, the SRC, or the source folder. So this will be the heart of your project. It holds all the source code that brings your application to life. So think of it as the workshop where you build and assemble the different components of your application. So the SRC, or the source folder, is where we will spend most of our time writing our React components and application logic. So going back to our website analogy, the SRC folder or the source folder would be your design room, where you create and customize the individual rooms or the components that users will interact with. Okay, so let's explore some key files inside the SRC folder. The first one is the app.js. So this is the main component. This is the starting point of your entire application. It's like the living room where everything comes together. So this file typically contains the main component of your application, and it's where we structure the overall layout and where we can import and use other components. So it's the starting point for building your user interface, acting as the foundation upon which you build everything else. So think of this as the main frame of your website, holding all the rooms or the components together. Okay? And we keep on mentioning components a while ago. So what are the components? You can see it here, but inside this SRC folder, we can create here a new folder named components. So this components folder, this folder will be your toolbox. So this is where you'll store reusable building blocks, which are the components. So these components can represent anything from, let's say, buttons and menus to complex data displays. Okay, so imagine each component as a piece of furniture that you can arrange to create different rooms or components within your website, making it easy to build different sections of your website. So for example, you want to create a website with a header, a main content section, and a footer. So you would create components for each of this section, and then you will have to store it inside this components folder. For example, the header.js for the header, the content.js for the main content, and then lastly, the footer.js for the footer. Okay, and then here inside your app.js, this is where you would import these components and arrange them like building blocks to create your website's layout. So how are you going to import this? You will just have to import, say, header from components folder and then the header.js. So this is how you import a component. So this is three files are still empty, so you will see nothing from here. And then to be able to display it in your main website's layout, you would just have to call the header. So that would be the header and then self-closing. Okay, so whatever name that you set here when you imported the header file, it is also what you will use to set here or to call here in your app.js file. Okay? And then we can also see here the index.js. Let's make this a split screen first. There you go. Okay, so going back, this is your index.js file. So this file serves as the entry point for your entire application. It tells React where to start rendering your components, and it also imports the app component right here, and also renders it into the screen, which is this one. Okay, so just think of this file as the switch that turns on the power in your website, bringing all the rooms or the components into life. Okay, and then we also have here the index.css. So this file is the main style sheet for your entire application. It's where you can apply global styles. And here in your app.css, this is the style sheet for the app component, which is the app.js. So this styling is scoped to this component by default. And if you want to add more CSS files, you can also create a new folder inside here, the source folder or the SRC folder. We can make here styles folder. So here you can create a folder for your style sheets just to keep the styles organized. And yeah, it will make it easier for you to maintain and modify the appearance of your components. And then we can also add here another folder named assets. So this assets folder will store static assets like, say, images or other media files. And this can also be used to store fonts or other static assets that will be used in your application. So now that we've explored the different folders in our React project, let's talk about the special building blocks that we use inside them. So just like the Legos, they have unique shapes and functions, right? React also has a special way of writing code called the JSX. So instead of plain text, it allows us to write HTML-like codes directly inside our JavaScript files. Okay, so think of JSX as building instructions. So it tells React how to arrange the components or the Lego bricks on the screen and how they should interact. And or you can think of it as a blueprint. It defines the layout of our application, just like a Lego set's instructions show how to build the final model. Okay, so basically, the JSX describes what our app should look like with familiar tags like the div, the button, the p tag. But unlike regular HTML, the JSX gets transformed into real JavaScript that React can understand and render on the screen. Okay, so it just seamlessly combines the logic of JavaScript with the structure of HTML. It allows you to describe what you want your app to look and feel like in a clear and intuitive way, just like using Lego bricks to build different parts of your model. Okay, so here's how the JSX looks. So it looks like an HTML, but it's actually a JavaScript code. So you can write HTML tags and attributes directly here inside your JavaScript file. So this makes your code more readable and easier to understand, especially when you're dealing with complex user interface components. So why are we going to use JSX here in our React app? First is because it's easier to read. So imagine building a Lego model by just describing the bricks and their positions. So the JSX makes the code more readable and intuitive, especially for those familiar with HTML. And also, it has a dynamic content. So remember those special Lego pieces that move or change. So the JSX lets you also add data and interactivity within our HTML-like code, making our application dynamic and responsive. Okay, so let's break down this app.js example and understand how JSX is used to create the structure of a React component. So the first one here, let's delete this one first. Okay, so the first thing that we did is we import the logo image and styles from logo.svg and app.css, which can be found in here. And then we define a functional component named app. Then we also have here a return statement. So the JSX starts right here. The return statement contains the JSX, which represents the structure of the component. So JSX allows us to define HTML-like elements like the div, the header, the image, and then the p tag. And then we also have the a tag or the anchor tag, just like you would in HTML. We will also encounter here a class name and inline styles. Okay, so for example, in here, class names are specified using the class name attribute in JSX, similar to the class attribute in HTML. And also, inline styles can be applied using double curly braces. Like for example, in here, let's add a style. Style is equals to color Okay, there you go. So this is how you apply the inline styling. So we changed the paragraph text color from white to blue. Okay, and also the JSX has a dynamic content with JavaScript expression. So here the JSX allows embedding JavaScript expressions with curly braces. So here in this example, in this line, the source attribute of the image tag, which is this one, uses the logo variable. Okay, and then we can also link external resources. So we use the JSX to create an anchor tag, which is this one that links to our React documentation. So in summary, this app.js file demonstrates the usage of JSX to create a React component. So the syntax may look similar to HTML, but it incorporates JavaScript expressions and follows React conventions for building dynamic and reusable user interface components. Okay, so now that we know that the codes we've been looking at are written in JSX, which stands for JavaScript XML, which again is a syntax extension for JavaScript that allows you to write HTML-like code within your JavaScript files, and is a powerful feature of React that makes writing UI components more intuitive and readable. Okay, so now we will delve into JSX attributes. So in JSX, you can add attributes to your HTML-like elements just like you would in a regular HTML. So these attributes provide additional information or behavior to the elements. So just imagine you're building a Lego house. Each Lego piece is like an element in ReactJS, and the little bumps and holes on them are like the attributes. So these attributes tell the pieces how to connect and what properties they have, making your house look awesome. So in ReactJS, we use attributes like to describe these elements and attributes in a way that's easy to understand and write. So JSX attributes are like tiny instructions attached to each element, telling them how to behave and how to look, and they are similar to HTML attributes, but with some key differences. Okay, so let's take a quick overview of how JSX attributes work. So before that, let's remove this one first. Okay, and then let's explore first its a basic syntax. So JSX attributes are written inside opening tags and are similar to HTML attributes. So they consist of an attribute name followed by an equal sign and a value. For example, let's have here an image element, and then let's have the src as its attribute, and then let's have example.jpg, and then we can also set an alternative text, let's say example. Okay, and then there you go, you can see here the example image that we just added right now. Okay, so for now you can see there an image because this is just a sample image. Okay, it really doesn't exist. Next is the dynamic values. So you can also use JavaScript expressions as attributes values to make them dynamic. So this is particularly useful for rendering dynamic data or applying conditional styling. So for example, let's declare here a const image URL, and then let's set this to example2.jpg, and then let's also declare here an alternative text, and then let's have here example2. Okay, and then here inside our return statement, let's put here a comment. So this is for the basic syntax, and this is for the dynamic values. So in here, we will call the image element followed by the source attribute, and then equal sign, the image URL, and then the alt, and then let's call the alt text that we just again declared a while ago. Okay, so here you go. This is our example 2. So we used the curly braces to render this data that we declared right here. Okay, and then the third one is the Boolean attribute. These HTML Boolean attributes like disabled or checked can either have a value, either true or no value at all. So in JSX, you can simply include the attribute name and React will handle it appropriately. So for example, we want to set a button to disabled. We want it to be disabled. So what we will do is we will put here the disabled attribute. And as you can see right here in our output, the submit button is disabled. Okay, so let's try one more example. Let's apply this knowledge to our React components. We can also use JSX attributes like, let's say here, const greeting, let's say hello, hello ReactJS. And then we can have here an h1, the h1, and then we can call here the greeting between the h1 elements. Okay, we can also do something like image source is equal to image URL, and then for the alternative text, we can do something like example 3. Okay, then here, there you go. The first one in here, we used the curly braces to insert the value of the greeting variable into the content of the h1 element. And then right here, we used the source and alt attributes. So the source and the alt attributes are JSX attributes applied to the image element. So the curly braces, these are used to embed JavaScript expressions within the JSX. Okay, so the source attribute is assigned the value of the image URL variable using the curly braces, and then the alt attribute, like in regular HTML, provides alternative text for accessibility. Okay. And additionally, you can also use the JSX attributes to pass functions, event handlers, and other dynamic values to components. For example, let's have here const handle click. Let's use the arrow function. And then inside this handle click, let's have here the alert button clicked. And then here inside our return statement, let's call in here the button element. So button on click is equal to, let's call the handle click that we just declared a while ago. And then for the button, let's put in here click me. Okay, so in this case, the onClick attribute is used to assign the handle click function to the button's click event. So just imagine a Lego button that, when pressed, triggers a trapdoor. So we can use attributes like this or like onClick to make elements respond to user interactions. Okay, so understanding JSX attributes is crucial for building dynamic and interactive React applications. So some of the key points about JSX Okay, so understanding JSX attributes is crucial for building dynamic and interactive React applications. Some of the key points about JSX attributes that you have to remember is, first, the camel case naming. So unlike in HTML's lowercase attributes, JSX uses the camel case. Second one is the string values. We use the quotes for fixed values. And then for the expressions, for dynamic values, we use the curly braces around JavaScript expressions. And for event handlers, we handle user interactions, like for example here, the click with onClick or other attributes. Okay, and then for the Boolean attributes, we set attributes to true or false. For example, disabled is equal to true. Okay, so now that we've covered the basics of JSX and JSX attributes, let's discuss how to style your React elements. So think of styling in React like picking the perfect colors and decorations for your Lego creations. So just like Legos come in different colors and shapes, the React elements can have different styles like font size, background color, or margins. It just allows you to add personality, flair, and functionality to your application. So React offers ways to customize the appearance of our components. So there are several approaches to styling the React, and let's explore the two most common methods. Okay, so the first one is the inline styling. So I think everyone is familiar with inline styling. Just imagine painting directly on your Lego bricks. So inline styles let you add styles directly within your JSX code using the style attribute. So this is convenient for quick changes, but this can become messy for a complex styling. Okay, so let's have an example. Let's say in here, inline styling. Let's say we want to make this H1 a color blue. So what we will do is we will use the style attribute. So h1 style is equals to, and then followed by curly braces, and then color, colon, and then quotation marks blue. And let's say we want to make this, we want to set its font size to 20. So to add that, we'll just put a comma, and then font size, and 20 pixels. Okay, and then click save. So there you go, our h1 is now color blue. We can also make a button with a custom style here in our button with click handler. So to do that, we will just add again the style attribute. So style is equals to, followed by the curly braces, and then let's say we want to make its font size to, let's set the font size to 20 pixels again, and then click save, and there you go. This is how we do the inline styling. So there's also another way to style this elements without using another file. So let's remove this one first. And then let's do another one. Okay, let's have the const heading style. And then we can set here the color to blue. Oops. And then we can also set the font size to, let's say, 24 pixels. Okay, and then we can also align it to center. Okay, so right now this is not, this should be enclosed in quotation marks. Okay, so to apply this style, we will just use the style attribute. So how do we do that? We'll just call in the style is equals to heading style. Okay, and then click save. And there you go. Our h1 Hello React.js is now color blue, has a font size of 24 pixels, and is now aligned to center. And we use the inline styling to apply these styles to this particular element. So again, in this example, the heading style, which is this one, this heading style object contains the styles for the heading, and it is used to, or it's applied using the style attribute, which is right here. Okay, and then the second way of applying styles to our React.js is through external styling. So again, external styling, just think of this as a separate sheet with detailed instructions for decorating your Lego model. So this is where we use the traditional CSS style sheets to style your React components. So external CSS files allows you to define styles separately from your JSX code, keeping things organized and maintainable. So this is the preferred approach for larger projects with complex styling needs. You just have to simply create the .css files and import them into your component. Okay, so an example of an external styling is by using the app.css. So we have here the app.css. There are several styles that are already put in here, but let's just make another one and let's save it inside our styles folder. So let's say styles.css. Okay, and then here inside our styles.css, let's have heading, and then color red. Let's say font size would be 20 pixels, and let's say the margin bottom would be 10 pixels. Okay, and then here, after adding your desired styles for the class name or for the element with the class name heading, let's go back to our app.js, and then let's have here an h2. Hi. Welcome. And then let's set its class name to heading. Class name is equals to heading. Okay, and then we can also have a paragraph here. Let's say p styled, or this is a styled paragraph. Okay, let's use the class name here. Let's set the class name to parag. And then as you've noticed, in here, in our styles.css, we set the color to red, but here, it's still color black. Why is that? Because we haven't imported the styles.css yet to our app.js file. Okay, so to import, we just have to type it import and then the quotation marks, and then let's be specific. Let's go inside the styles folder, and then let's call here the styles.css file, click save, and then there you go. This is now color red, which is what we set originally here in our styles.css for the heading class name. Okay, we can also add more for our paragraph. Just do the same thing, then let's set this color to green. And there you go. This has now a color green text. So remember, just like choosing the right colors and styles enhances your Lego creation, styling your React elements makes your app visually appealing and user-friendly. So each of this method and has its advantages and use cases. So choose the one that best fits your project's requirements. Okay, so now that we've covered the basics of JSX, JSX attributes, and styling in React, let's dive deeper into the heart of React development, which is the component. So just like the individual Lego bricks come together to form larger structures, components are the reusable building blocks that bring your application to life. So in React, everything is a component. Components are the building blocks of a React application, and they allow you to split your user interface into reusable and manageable pieces. So just think of this as self-contained units that represent specific parts of your user interface, and they can be anything from simple buttons to complex data displays, each with its own functionality and appearance. Okay, and you might also be wondering what makes components special. So what makes components special is first, they are reusable. Imagine using the same Lego brick type to build multiple windows in your model. Components can be reused throughout your application, saving you time and effort. And the second reason is that it is maintainable. So think of easily replacing damaged Lego bricks. Components makes the code modular and easier to understand and update. And lastly, it is interactive. So remember adding motors and sensors to your Lego creation. Components can handle user interactions like the clicks, the form submissions, data changes, making your application more dynamic. Okay, so let's try making a simple functional component. Let's go here inside our components folder. Let's create a new file and name this greeting.js. Okay, so in here inside our greeting.js, let's import first the React. Import React from React. And then let's create function greeting return each one. And then let's have here hello world. Then click save. Okay, here greeting is a functional component. So it is a simple JavaScript function that returns a JSX element. So functional components are commonly used for presentational components that don't have internal state. So they are the preferred way of writing components in modern React because they are lightweight and easy to understand. Okay, and for this to be able to display here in your website, we will have to import this again here in our app.js. So the first thing that we will do is we will import greeting from, let's call the components folder, and then the greeting.js file. Click save, and then here after the button, let's call the greeting, say greeting. So this is how you call a component. Okay, so we have an error here. It is because we forgot to export our greeting component. So here inside your greeting.js file, type export default and then the name of your functional component, which is the greeting, and then click save. And there you go. We have now here the hello world. Okay, so here we defined our component, and then we can also use it anywhere in your application by importing it right here and then including it in our JSX code right here. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's create another component. and let's name it myComponent.js. And then here, inside our myComponent.js, let's import the React first. Then function myComponent. So in here, let's add a props. And then let's call the props here a props dot name. And then again, don't forget to export. Okay, so here in this example, the name prop will be passed from the greeting component to customize the greeting message. So what are props? Components can receive data from their parent component using the props, which is short for properties. So props are passed down from parent to child components, and it will allow you to create dynamic and reusable components. Okay, so let's go inside our app.js file and let's import my component from components folder and then my components.js. Okay, and then here inside our return statement, let's call in my component, and then we can set the name to, let's say, Alice, and self closing. And then we mentioned a while ago that we can use it anywhere, right? And we can set anything, any value for it. So let's try setting its value to my component name is equals to, let's say, Joseph. And there you go. You can see here, hello there, Alice, and hello there, Joseph. Okay, so again, props are immutable and passed down from parent to child components. And here in our myComponent.js, what we did is first we imported again the React library, which is necessary for writing React components. Even though it may not seem explicitly used in this file, this is crucial for JSX transformation. And then we have the function myComponentProp. So this is the definition of a functional component named myComponent, and it takes props as a parameter, which is an object containing properties passed to the component. And in this case, it expects a name property. Okay, and then here in our return statement, we defined the JSX structure that the component will render. So it's a simple heading 1 or h1 that includes the value of the name prop passed to the component. Okay, so again, don't forget the export default myComponent. This line exports the myComponent function as the default export of the module. So it allows you to import and use this component in other files using the import statement. And here we are rendering the myComponent twice with different names as props. Okay, so we set first the name to Alice, and then the second one is we set it to Joseph. Okay, so this is how a component can be reusable, and again, you can already use it anywhere in your application as long as you already defined your component. Okay, and now that we covered the basics of React Component, we will explore the powerful concept of mapping data to components in the next part of this video. So follow the OneCodeCamp channel to know more and be updated of our videos. Thank you.